faculty members, Professor Jilova, Professor Mahavir Singh, and other faculty members from the Department of Law, as well as our Assistant Concern Department, Institute of Law, and loving students. The first thing is that as since yesterday night, Professor Dilip sir requesting me or directing me just to keep yourself within few minutes, and it is not easy to me because being the student of law, it is not easy to me to confine myself within a few minutes for the limited period, because basically the constitution law, as we know, this is the living law of the land, and everyone want to live a life, and life is not to be curtailed, life is not to be limited, because Article 21 as accordingly provide right to life and personal liberty, and this constitution law is the living law of the land. We only not how the particular constitution as a document, but this is a life for us, because as you have seen what before the constitution, how the life of we the persons was restricted by directly or indirectly on the name of certain religion, on the name of certain caste and varnas. This is the constitution which gives you the dignified life, and most of the particular issues, as just in case of Dr. Bhardwaj accordingly said that we have the day on which our female colleague professor is chairing us. This happened due to the constitution. Otherwise, you have seen what was the situation or status of the women before the constitution. Women were not allowed even to compete with the men. How it is possible that in case of the Indian constitution provided, and then we have the first citizen on the name of Pratibha Patil. That happened due to the constitution. So this constitution is very much required, and I'm being the student of law, I'm very happy to have with me the constitution. But two things I will only discuss, because basically I will confine myself as per the direction. And one thing which Professor Preeti Jain accordingly justified, and the second thing which the issues which has been taken in her deliberation by Dr. Dipti. So the first thing, as Professor Preeti Jain discussed, I'm just submitting that she said that this is the beautiful constitution which has been borrowed from many of the country. I want to stress on this point. First, see, if you want to read the constitution, then it is not possible to read without reading the Constituent Assembly debates. Everywhere in these 395 articles, there was a lot of time accordingly consumed by our forefather of the Indian Constitution, or the Constituent Assembly members. 389 members were there initially, in which 292 from the representative of princely states, and 93 accordingly by the persons had been nominated, and 4 persons were all on the basis of British and Coorg and Ahmedabad. All these persons were there. 389 persons were there. But after split of this domain, after two independent nations, India and Pakistan, we have only 299. After that, 7 persons left, and accordingly 292 was there. So those peoples accordingly consumed the time and applied their mind. Then we are able to get this piece of work. This is the constitution. And basically, in case of constitution, I want to focus on 4th of November 1949, when Dr. B.R. Ambedkar came to the Constituent Assembly with the first draft of Indian Constitution. Then he said that certain allegations has been leveled against the Constitution. that constitution, half of the provisions of the Indian constitution have been taken from the Government of India Act of 1935,
Yes, sir.
and how half of the part has been borrowed for some other countries. Straightway, you see that Constituent Assembly debate on 4th of November 1948, Dr. Ambedkar denied initially that this is the constitution which has not been borrowed from any country. You see, if you see the particular concept of directive principle of state policy, it has been written by many of the authors of the constitutional law books, and I generally oppose of those authors who have written that directive principle of state policy initially we have taken from the Ireland, and from Ireland it came to the Spanish constitution. You see, on your Google, search the Spain constitution when it was framed. It is 1975. Almost all the particular issues, Dr. Ambedkar clarified that we have not borrowed these particular issues from the other country, and some particular persons from my colleague from law as well as political science, they are saying this parliamentary form of government has been borrowed from UK. On 25th of November 1949, you see the Constituent Assembly debate when Dr. Ambedkar accordingly justified and warned the country people that on 26th January 1950, we are going into the age of contradiction, and on that day, we will be politically equal, but not socially and economically equal. That we have provided a value of one man, one vote, one value. But there will be two old enemies for us, caste and creed. If we place the caste and creed above the country, definitely we will lose. And if we place caste and creed below the nation, below the country, then we will succeed. And this guarantee of success is inhabited in Parliament. And this parliamentary form of government we have not taken from the UK. This is our own culture. On this same day, 25th of November 1949, in written, in case of the Constituent Assembly debate, that see the Buddhist era, see the Mauryan dynasty, there was practices of parliamentary courses. There was majority-minority decisions. There was the vote by ballot papers, majority, and even the word is res judicata that we generally read in case of CPC section 11.
Yes, sir.
That is the word which has been written in the Constituent Assembly debates. And regarding the second aspect, that is, has been borrowed from by the other countries or not. On again, you see the 4th of November 1948 Constituent Assembly debates, in which clearly it has been written. Dr. Ambedkar said that while we are going framing any constitution, then we have to read more and more about the fundamental principles which are available in universe, worldwide. And we have read. But this constitution is not borrowed from anywhere because it is out of plagiarism. Because this is our own culture. You see, if right to equality you talk, from where it has been borrowed? Because the people of India were not equally treated, and Dr. Ambedkar was one of the among the sufferers, so that he justified the right to equality for all. Article 14, equally applicable to all. Almost the particular provisions. I will not take much time because again I have the piece of paper. So the second thing is that in case of religion, Dr. Dipti accordingly pointed out the religion has been defined. But I am the student of law, clearly mentioned one thing, there are 395 articles. And in all these 395 articles, nowhere the word religion is defined. Only in case of article 25 to 28, only the freedom relating to religion. This is religious freedom. Article 25 gives you the freedom of religion. And this freedom of religion, initially there was, because this is the basic concept or basic essential feature of a secular character of a state, secular country. Although some people say that relating to this religion aspect, the secular concept was embedded, inserted by 42nd Constitutional Amendment of 1976. Although it is there. But you see that Article 25 to 28, the liberty of religion was there. And in case of the preamble, liberty of thought, belief, expression, faith and worship. What is this? This is the liberty of religion. And in case of secular state, which having this particular liberty is a secular state. So the state has no its own religion. State will not, as Professor Dr. Justice Ramaswamy justified in case of this S.R. Bombay case. The state that is secular means neither promoting any religion nor demoting any religion. So the issue was that this secular concept was embedded in the constitution initially, but now it has been written. जैसे लिख दिया ना कि हाथी है, अब उसके ऊपर हाथी के ऊपर पेंट कर दिया हाथी, लिख दिया हाथी. Otherwise, there was secular values in the constitution. On just by 42nd Constitutional Amendment, just we have written secular. So basically, this is the constitution which was the very much labor, very much work done by our forefathers, and specifically in case of 2015, as Professor Preeti Jain accordingly mentioned, the government of India taken the decision, and there was a first session of the parliament on 26th and 27th November 2015, which was accordingly focused on the Indian Constitution and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Because this was the contribution of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar regarding the Constituent Assembly debates, as well as this particular constitution having the drafting committee. So what labor he made? Just I want to conclude by the words of T.T. Krishnamachari. T.T. Krishnamachari, one of the member of Constituent Assembly and also the member of drafting committee after D.P. Khetan. When D.P. Khetan was accordingly nominated, he died. After that, T.T. Krishnamachari was nominated. So, on 5th of November 1949, T.T. Krishnamachari said that House is aware that on 29th of August 1947, this drafting committee was constituted under the chairman of Dr. Ambedkar, having 7 members. 1 member was died, accordingly replaced because T.T. Krishnamachari in place of D.P. Khetan was there, and 1 member resigned, not replaced. 2 persons from away of the country, 1 person involved in our princely states, and it ultimately happened that burden of the framing of the constitution was on the shoulder of Dr. Ambedkar, and I have no doubt that Dr. Ambedkar has done the commendable job, and this constitution was prepared. So no doubt all members, because Dr. Ambedkar on 25th of November 1949 accordingly is in final speech admitted and gave the thanks first of all B.N. Rao, because he was the constitutional advisor, and other members of the Constituent Assembly, specifically the members of drafting committee. So he owed the responsibility. Although I came into the constitution to protect only the interest of scheduled castes, but when I was given the responsibility of the chairman of the drafting committee, I first of all thought about the women. You see, the same time was when Dr. Ambedkar was also prepared Hindu Code Bill. And on the Hindu Code Bill, which was not passed by the Assembly, then on 27th of September 1951, accordingly he resigned. What we have on the name of Hindu laws presently, that Hindu Marriage Act, Special Marriage Act and the Succession Act, these all particular acts which are passed in pieces and derogatory to the Hindu Code Bill, because Hindu Code Bill want to justify what the status, the equal status of women to make, in comparison of male. What we have made after the long period, after 75 years, when accordingly we have justified that basically that there was amendment in section 6 of Hindu Succession Act, and then our female partners, our that gender equality was there. Why? Because we have the property right similar. It happened due to this section 6 of Succession Act amendment. This was the aim of Dr. Ambedkar, was to provide initially along with the constitution. So this is the value. This is the values of the constitution, that constitution equally justify the liberty for all, irrespective of caste, creed, race and religion. So this is the constitution, and accordingly I have been directed